Welcome back to Combust Astrology. Let's go ahead and get into the full moon in Cancer, January 13th, 2025, 5:26:38 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, so what do we got? Full moon encompasses what? What are the hot topics? Sun and moon and Mars and Pallas Athena together. Hmm. Okay. Okay. Then we also have we have Juno trining, and then we have the sextile. Okay. All right, I could do this south node. Oof, man. I'm recording this on the 8th. 3 days from now, we're going to start the slow descent into chaos and madness. It'll be fun, though. It'll be fun. All right, so let's talk about the full moon. Cool. All right, we have Moon and Mars. Let's talk about that first. And let's see where we got it at. So, Moon is in its home, it's in a domicile, so it wants to be there. Mars, not so much. Mars is actually, if I remember correctly, it's either fallen or detriment. And it's detriment in Libra, or I always mix it up. But I know it doesn't want to be in Cancer. Why? Because it's, well, emotional. If you know anyone with Cancer Mars, they will be very kind and protective and very caring, but it's like, okay, now that you're in my home, you cannot leave. And even if you're like, hey, I just need to step outside, they're like, but why? But I got it right here. But why do you need to leave? And why do you need to go? So for me, I've come to see, and I see this all the time, that people with um, Mars and Cancer do really well in team sports, right? Because they're so team orientated and very much looking to protect their home, that whenever they find people opposing their home or the enemy team, they're going to go out of their way to stop that, right? um, but it's a really awesome placement to have, because you know the person cares. The problem is that they overstep boundaries and make up silly little situations that don't really exist, um, in their minds. And this is why they're so good, especially at sports, because it's like, if you have a Mars in Cancer as like a linebacker or like an O lineman, if you don't know what that is, it's American football. But whatever, they are going to quite literally hallucinate and create an enemy out of the other guy on the other side of the field that's just getting paid to do their job, right? And in that same way, Mars itself is a planet that really doesn't want to be told what to do. So you got Mars, and then you got the Cancer placement here. And what do you get? You get emotional damage. But really, it's like, hey, um, you could tell a Mars in Cancer something, and then they just look at it and say, actually, this is what it is. And they're not going to let it go. Now, it's a good placement in its rights, but when it's retrograded and we see the retrograde, Mars goes on the fritz and it becomes even worse, and it becomes even more emotionally charged. So, when I've been saying that I will personally be walking out and doing my own thing and trying to disengage with people, this is what I mean. I've been trying to start this slowly since the opposition of Pluto and Venus, when it was there, because it started happening then for me. But that's just because of my own transits and chart. But I have seen it, and it's slowly going to just keep getting worse. Meaning, all the water sign people, but really everyone, because of where they have Mars in Cancer and here for the full moon, they're going to just act out. And whereas a better option to go about this energy that I've been saying is just to kind of internalize how you feel and work with yourself. Sit with yourself in silence, because as Venus has gotten back into Pisces, it's asked for that. Let's talk about Venus since we're there. Venus is in conjunction with this giant stellium. We got a division of it, but if you look, the North Node and Neptune, peak delusion, and then we have Saturn and Venus. Hey, do you really like where you're at and what you're going about? Is the relationships that you have right now really fulfilling, or is this going to be a karmic thing that you need to release? And then we come back to the actual full moon itself, because I know this is a full moon video, and then we're going to see the Sun and Pallas Athena is like, hey, don't forget, we still got to learn, we still got to study. And this is why when I have my videos or I do my readings, if you've been a client, you'll notice that the things I say will be something you get an aha moment later in the future. Because your time's important, and I try to compartmentalize all the information together in a way that is 4D. So you can get it now, you can look in your past and see how it could have reflected if with similar transits, and you'll be able to assess it in your future. That way, it's worth your money and also worth your time. This is what Pallas Athena is really emphasizing here with the with Capricorn on the Sun in the sixth. It's like, hey, mind your P's and Q's. Don't get so strung on the emotional stuff outside of your control. Stay within your own emotional confine and deal with it yourself. Basically, I hate this term, but like the whole lock in thing where you basically ghost everyone and you try to stay to yourself. It's, I'm not saying ghost people, you still want community. Check up on them once or twice in the week, but it might not be an everyday sort of let's talk 24/7 because it's not going to be like that anymore, right? And ironically, as you're being asked to like walk away, you're going to be confronted with a whole bunch of different options here with this square between Jupiter in Gemini and the Venus, and I can't wait for that to station direct. But it's like, hey, like what are we really doing? Now, you're going to have to, unfortunately, being just choosing yourself, like things are going to have to end because the Uranus and Taurus is saying, are you going to give up your stability to learn this lesson, or are you going to give yourself to the delusion and not listen to the need to actually be selective with all the options that are coming to you? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, by not doing this, you're just further fostering future pain. See how that works? This is why I love astrology. And for me, looking at all this, the little thing that we should know or we should be aware of is, what is Pluto and Aquarius doing? Where is Uranus? Moving forward, where is Uranus and what is it doing? Because we got to know. So this little bad boy over here, Uranus is in Taurus. Taurus is the sign of Venus, and then we have Venus in exaltation. So now I'm looking and saying, okay, so Pluto and Aquarius being one of the bigger placeholders here in this chart is saying to me that in order to actually find the self peace with the new moon, I have to be okay to be an individual in a massive collective. I have to be okay to do my own thing. Else, the people that should be attracted to me won't be attracted to me. Like, not the weirdos, but the oddball people that I should be getting towards, they won't be able to get to me. And this is going to disrupt your sense of stability in the relationships you've been having because of this. Now, Mercury, that's in Capricorn. Oh, I got 2 minutes. Let me end this real quick before I start the channel. Mercury in Capricorn is sextiling this Lilith in Scorpio. It's going to be a hard one. And at the same time, it is having a sextile to the, okay, this is getting too much. I think we can agree. It's going to have a sextile to the Venus, right? This little mini thing right here, this little mini trine sort of thing, whether or not people acknowledge Lilith or not, to me, I look at it and I'm like, hey, you got to choose yourself. And this is important because we're at the start of a lot of things this year. Nothing ever just abrupts peacetime and then we continue, right? The end and the beginning, there's no peace. It's always a transition that is rocky, and then we might be able to go up or down. That's the way life works. There's never a peace full time in the middle. Someone's peace is the cost of another person's problem. And that is hard to imagine. You wake up every day, you go to work, you have a family, there are children dying somewhere or not having food. And when they might have food, there's someone else that's going to be suffering, because suffering is just like peace. It's two sides of the same coin of our existence. So no one's ever going to have it together, but you just have to simply look at yourself. I'm just telling you the astrology. I don't want to harbor chaos or foster it, but this is just the way it is. So, with that being said, thank you for watching. Hope that full moon kind of made sense. My name's Liv. This is Combust Astrology, and take care. So, I see you again.